Facebook there. And then let's see. So right now we're just live on Zoom
All
there.
right. So I can start the showmanship.
Wait, not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. Mike,
Not
can
Hold your
yet.
you
horses,
first?
Mike.
We'll need to go live on Facebook first. So
Okay.
alternative.
So do
Since
we
we don't
introduce?
have an audience yet in Zoom.
So let me
There.
know.
Yeah, I'll let you know when to start. So maybe we'll introduce people one by one. Mike, you can introduce them.
Yeah.
You'll be the master showman
The MC.
today. Yeah.
You're the Toastmaster of the night, bro.
Yep. Just let me know when to go.
Yeah.
Mr.
So
Toastman.
there. So we'll go live in 3, 2. Oh wait, let me say something about this first. Alive with people from the REHABpreneur Monetize Summit there. And we're live in 3, 2, 1. Go.
All right. What's going on, ACG? This is Dr. Mike Chu again, physical therapist and certified dementia practitioner. And yes, that's my alternative career. And tonight we have special guests. Tonight we've got awesome people. You know, like what I always say, you are the average of the 5 people you are hang out with. I'm not just hang out with 5. I'm hang out with a lot of people right now with you. And of course, the rest of the people that we're going to have on this awesome rehab summit. Tonight, we're going to have Anthony Maritato, physical therapist, owns several clinics. And we've got Bert De Vera, home health guy, the contract person. We got Scott Harmon, occupational therapist on how to start a therapy practice. We got Jessica Drummond in the house, you know, pelvic floor lady. You know, so if you got any questions with regards to pelvic floor, holler at her. And of course, Asha, she is a physical therapist and has a software company called TheraX Portal. So we're here trying to hang out with them. You know, we're gonna ask them on how to be the best that we can be, and that way we can move on forward and finding our alternative career. So welcome guys to our podcast slash video slash whatever for our alternative careers group. So thank you for joining us. So appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen. So well, Anthony, where are you from?
So I'm here in Middletown, Ohio. We're just north of Cincinnati. Excuse me. And I'll just give you a quick background on me, the 2-minute version. So I started as a strength and conditioning specialist. I opened a little personal training studio down in Sarasota, Florida, about a mile from Siesta Key Beach. And I was just working as a strength coach. And I got introduced to a physical therapist, fell in love with the profession. Over the next year or so, we migrated from all cash-based physical therapy to all in-network physical therapy. And she later became my wife. We opened 2 more clinics in Sarasota. We moved to Ohio. We got married, had 4 baby boys. We have 2 more clinics here. We grew to a total of 5 clinics. And over the last couple of years, we've just been consolidating, downsizing, focusing on kind of living the life we had dreamed of, which is spending time with the family, taking the boys fishing. You know, I was in the clinic today, but aside from that, I've got an amazing team behind me. They kind of do all the work. They see all the patients love them. And so now I'm here to share my experience, 18 years of clinical practice, private practice, and growth with anybody who's got a question for me.
Oh, wow. 18 years. Imagine that. I wasn't even born that year. Well, if you guys have any questions with regards to cash practice and also Medicare, Anthony's the guy. He also has a course called the Medicare.
It's zero to paid Medicare billing. And basically, we take people who have no association, no affiliation with Medicare. They've never been credentialed, all the way through the process to submitting that first claim and getting that direct deposit in their bank account.
There you go.
We go through everything they need within the course. It's a great program.
Awesome. Awesome. So he's going to basically, this coming rehab summit that we're going to have this June 29 and 30th, Anthony is the guy. If you have any questions with regards to cash base slash Medicare, which is appropriate for cash, which is appropriate for Medicare, and he's just the guy that we need to ask when it comes to that. So I was just talking to him earlier. If you guys are watching and listening right now, ACG, a lot of our members here are asking, how can I charge Medicare for Part B and cash? And I did my own credentialing a year ago, and it took me 8 months getting that credentialing process because I didn't know what I was doing. So Anthony's the guy. If you reach out to him, he's going to be awesome, and he's just actually a good person when it comes to this question and answer there. So thank you very much, Anthony. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
All right. Our next person would be Scott Harmon. He's actually an occupational therapist and has also a group called Start a Therapy Practice. I get all his emails and I listen and watch to his podcast. And I reached out to him one time too. And I learned a lot from him too. So if you are an occupational therapist, or regardless, just reach out to him. I think I referred some people to you too one time, Scott, right?
Yeah, appreciate that. I appreciate that, Mike. And I appreciate you listening. And I don't know how you all let an OT infiltrate here, but I appreciate the opportunity to join in. So yeah, I'm a pediatric occupational therapist and been in private practice since 2006. I had to break out the paperwork today, as a matter of fact, talking to Medicaid. May 19th, 2006 is when I incorporated as therapy for kids is my pediatric practice, and we're opening our third clinic. Just opened that. We're getting it up and running. So it's going good, still trying to keep on top of Medicaid and private insurance and all of that. So I'm in I like to tell people I'm in LA, Lower Arkansas. So it's actually Central Arkansas, but that LA sounds more cool. So, but yeah, we have 3 clinics. And Start a Therapy Practice is a podcast. Started out as a podcast and a blog, and I've been doing that since 2013, I think. And I've had a couple of us here on this panel on my podcast. I need to get Mike, Jessica, and Ash on there. Tony's been on there, and Bert's been on there, and it's been such a treat and a thrill just to learn from the likes of you all here. So I mean, I know what it takes to do what y'all are doing, and y'all are doing it very well. So I appreciate going along for the ride here. So my wife is also an OT. We provide speech therapy and physical therapy and occupational therapy in my 3 clinics, and also doing home health and preschools. And yeah, it's been great.
Oh, wow. So if you guys are watching, we've got, in this ACG group, we got 9,000 members, and majority, I'm not saying this a lot, but majority are OTs and speech who are in that group. And, if you are watching and listening right now, I would reach out to Scott with regards to how to start a therapy practice. And, his specialty is actually pediatrics. So, reach out to him, ask him questions. He's got all this nice resources, free resources actually on his website. I looked it up on it. So, reach out to him, and he's an awesome person. And thank you, Scott. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Our next person is Jessica Drummond, pelvic floor lady. She's actually, tell me again, Pelvic Health Institute, right, Jessica?
Yeah, the Integrative Women's Health Institute.
There you go. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, that's okay. You have a lot going on tonight with all these panelists. So great to be here with everyone. And yeah, so I started my career as a physical therapist just about 20 years ago, actually a little more than 20 years ago, in orthopedic physical therapy. And then I pretty quickly specialized in women's health, which is essentially specialized orthopedics for women's health concerns. And I do women's health and pelvic health. And after the birth of my first daughter, I had a hormone issue, which I personally resolved with a lot of changes in lifestyle medicine and nutrition. And so I went back to school and got a doctorate in clinical nutrition. And so I practice as a health coach, a physical therapist, and a clinical nutritionist. But most of what I do is teach and run a company at this point. So we have an online company that is based in Houston, Texas. I live in Fairfield, Connecticut most of the time. I do still see patients, a few per week, because I think it makes me a better educator and a better, it kind of keeps me really current. And so the company is 100% virtual, although I do see patients in person if they would like to do that. But a lot of times I'm collaborating with other pelvic health physical therapists around the world. I see patients all over the world, and I teach all over the world, both in person and virtually. So it's been quite an adventure for about the last 10 years. I started the health coaching practice in 2009 and incorporated it more officially in 2011. So it's a really interesting journey to do all cash-based telehealth and to create online programs for patients and professionals. And it's really very different from what I learned in school, but it helps me to really reach women with such a private, a lot of private challenges from wherever they are. So it's a lot of fun.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Well, if you are watching and listening right now, I know we have lots of people asking about pelvic floor and telehealth and everything. Reach out to Jessica. She's the lady with regards to, how to start this, how to coach, and how to do all of this online. And actually, I've been meaning to reach out to her, and I wanted to mimic what she's doing in my dementia stuff, how to, make it as an academy or a school or something. And that's my ultimate goal to be like her, or to be like all these people here who I'm talking to right now. All right. Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate you. And then we've got Asha right now, and she has this software company called TheraX Portal. And can you tell us more about that, Asha?
Hey, hi everybody. My name is Asha. Have been a physical therapist for about 14 years, and I'm a neurological clinical specialist by expertise. And I am the founder of TheraX Portal, which is an award-winning application which won the National Geographic Chasing Genius Award. And what the application does in a nutshell is tele-rehabilitation in addition with multilingual home exercise program. So we tend to give exercises to our patients, and having an integrative tele-rehabilitation interface with a home exercise program helps patients, educate patients, train the patients, and also caregivers. So you could implement with pediatrics, neurological practice, pelvic floor, sports, and athletes as well. So it also has a wonderful patient adherence tracking. So, and if your patients speak any other language that's not English, this is your go-to platform. So that's about me and the application in a nutshell.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So if you guys are interested in learning telehealth in not just one language, you got Asha here. So reach out to her too. So basically, one of the many reasons, guys, if you're obviously watching right now and listening through ACG, Alternative Careers Group, all the speakers here, they are going to be talking about all their specialties this coming June the 29th and the 30th on how to start your own sub-practice or sub-niche, because each individual here, Anthony, Bert, Scott, Asha, and Jessica, is basically they're going to be talking about their own specialty. I almost forgot. I'm going to ask Bert what he does. So, Bert, I always talk to you. I always forget you now. So tell us about what you're going to do, Bert.
That's okay, Mike. That's okay, Mike. I still love you, bro. It's all right.
There you go.
Hey, guys. My name is Bert. I'm a physical therapist. I've been a therapist since 1998. So this is my 21st year. I know I'm old, but thank you if it doesn't show. Thanks. Appreciate that. So, anyways, I am the mastermind of this REHABpreneur online summit. but I just want to let you know that this thing will not happen without the generosity of all the guests here tonight. And I thank each one of these speakers for their generosity with their time. I am in the presence of greatness, guys, and I'm so honored to have these guys join us for the REHABpreneur Online Summit. Without their willingness to share what they do, this won't happen. So I just want to thank each and every one of them. I'm also the founder of homehealthcontract.com, where I teach PTs, OTs, and SLPs how to start a home health contract business on the side as a side hustle. Right? So without giving up what you're doing, either you're working full time or either you're doing some other niche on the side, you can combine this with anything else without any full-time employees, without marketing to doctors, without billing Medicare and insurance. But I am not setting those aside. If you're already billing Medicare and insurance, what I'm saying is add this as another source of income. If you're billing Medicaid, add this as another source of income. So that's what I'm doing. So I want to thank Mike personally for putting this together tonight. I think this is so nice of you, Mike, to have us here together and talk about our upcoming online summit. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me, because like what you said, just being with you guys makes me a better person, because, like what I always say, we are the average of the 5 people we hang out with, and you guys are just awesome. And every time I be with in your presence, I become awesome too. So before we move on forward, I just want to ask each one of you, what topic are you going to talk about, and just give us at least, 1 or 2 tips how we can advance our career, or how we can find our alternative career. It doesn't necessarily get out of the therapy world, and basically, 1 or 2 tip about what you really do. So I'm going to start again with Anthony. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest passion for me, like I've been an entrepreneur at heart. I mean, I was that kid in the neighborhood who would sell fireworks and, get other kids to like wash cars and do all that stuff. I just love business. Business is so exciting. And then when I found physical therapy, I just fell in love with the creative aspect of it. And so I've always been obsessed with the idea of how can I do what I love, which is physical therapy, without letting the financial side of things influence my decisions. I never want to treat a patient because I need to pay my mortgage. I want to treat a patient because I love treating patients. I want to have my business to provide financial stability for my wife and my family and the rest of our life. And so as I see my profession evolving and changing, I see us moving away from insurance, more toward direct pay, cash pay, out of network. And I found that there was this like massive chasm between what people thought Medicare was and what the reality is. And the reality is Medicare is just such an easy payer to work with, very transparent. Everything is out there. You can find an answer to any question you want if you just know where to look. And so my thought was, well, I've got 18 years of history in this. Let me just kind of close that deficit of knowledge and bring people to where they want to be. Now, how that applies to cash bases, we understand you can't treat a Medicare beneficiary if you don't have an affiliation with Medicare, because legally the federal law requires you to submit a claim for covered service. Well, in my talk, in my presentation, I want to touch on the topics of what are some alternative ways that you can play within the rules, but play to win. And I'm not talking about the forms that you get patients to sign that say they refuse to let you to submit a claim. And I'm not talking about the stuff that's already out there. I'm talking about stuff that's printed in black and white directly in the Medicare guidelines. I will show you exactly where the references are so that you have the education and the knowledge to make a clear decision on what you want to do. And then I want to bring kind of the hybrid of, let's start with Medicare. Let's bring that Medicare beneficiary, the people who need our services the most, into our practices. And then let's take them from Medicare to a direct pay model. This way, everybody kind of gets what they need. They can use a little bit of their Medicare benefits that they've worked a lifetime to build and pay for. But then they can also pay directly so that I'm not restrained to the Medicare guidelines and what Medicare requires me to do. I could provide what I believe the patient really needs, and so that's the goal of my talk. teach you about Medicare, so you're making a decision from an educated platform, and then show you how to move past Medicare back into the cash pay model, where you really have no limit to the reimbursement that you're looking at on a per visit, revenue basis. So that's the goal.
Oh, wow. And sometimes, that's true. Sometimes we just forget that we just have to know the actual rules and regulations in order for us to be able to do this. And sometimes the only reason why we don't want to do it because we just don't know how to do it.
Yeah,
so
we didn't learn it in school. We as clinicians, PTs, OTs, SLPs, tend to be rule followers. We're conservative by nature, and I get it. So let me give you the information, show you exactly where it is. This way you can make an educated decision instead of just a fear-based decision to say, you know what, I don't understand it, and I'm just going to run and hide. I'm not going to treat those Medicare beneficiaries, even though they need my services, even though I can impact their lives probably more than just about anybody, maybe aside from pediatrics like Scott. So, and I do want to say, I've told Scott before, Scott's podcast was the first one I ever listened to when I first found out what a podcast was. I said, I wonder if there's any business physical therapy podcasts. And I found Start a Therapy Practice. And that was the first podcast that got me hooked. So
that
Scott,
means
thank
I'm
you
old,
again
Tony.
for that.
That just means I'm old.
You mean he had a podcast 1999? No, just kidding.
Before the internet was invented.
Before the internet. Oh, wow. Well, you know what? Actually, that's true, Anthony. When I looked it up too, there were only two. Him and there's another guy. I forgot his name. He doesn't do it anymore.
Wow.
I forgot his name. And I follow him, but he doesn't do it anymore. Well, anyway, I forgot. Stage 1 dementia.
That's
forgetting. Right. So, all right. So thank you very much, Tony, for explaining that. And so, all right, our next person that we're going to give us at least what they're going to talk about in this coming Rehab Summit and give us at least 1 or 2 tips on how to do this is Scott. So
appreciate it. Well, I appreciate all the love about the podcast. The main reason I started the podcast is because I'm a big nerd, a big geek. I was listening to podcasts and was like, well, I've put a little margin in my time and my schedule. What would it take for me to start a podcast? And it goes back to what I'm going to cover on my talk, in that how I got started in private practice was a real desire, a couple of desires. One was to be with my growing family. I have 6 kids, so I wanted to be with them more. I was driving 1 hour one way to work, and I was like, well, how can I be closer to home? And there wasn't any jobs at home, there was no jobs that I wanted anyway. So the other motivating factor there was I realized I was trading time for dollars, and that there was a definite ceiling to that. There's only so much time in the day for me to make money. I remember when I got out of OT school, and this was therapy across the board. This will date me a little bit. I told my grandpa, I was the first Harmon to graduate college. I told my grandpa, God rest his soul, Grandpa, I got a job and I'm making $36,000 a year. And he was a blue collar, he was a sheet metal worker. And he realized, that's okay money for back in the day. But he realized that was not a lot of money. But he was proud of me. And so after I began to have a growing family, trading time for dollars, I realized I was going to have to make a little more money. And so that was a motivating factor. Wanting to be closer to my kids was a motivating factor. And so we opened a private practice, and that included a brick and mortar clinic. And so I'm going to go over in my talk basically how I did that startup, what it took to have a brick and mortar clinic. And now I'm actually doing it again. This week I'm opening a 3rd clinic. And so what's great about that is my older kids are helping out. So I had them up there Friday and cleaning, running the vacuum. And, they made me clean the toilet though. And that thing hadn't been cleaned in a year. So that's
you can't beat free labor there.
Yeah, that's right. And so that's one of the benefits of being the owner, right? You're going to clean the toilet and then cut the checks, but it's a labor of love. And I tell my therapist, I have some great therapists, but I do tell them, look, the same guy that cuts the checks, he picks up the mess here too. So make sure you pick up after yourself. But it's another thing I'm going to explain is some beginning ideas or thoughts about putting systems in place. And Tony knows about this because he's got multiple clinics. You have to have some systems in place if you're going to scale that monster and make it into something that's more manageable. So some first steps on how to implement a system in order to open your first clinic, your second clinic, third, and then you could scale from there. Or like Tony's trying to do right now, and I'm trying to do, we're trying to manage that a little bit better in order to step away. That was one thing that allowed me to start the podcast, is I had implemented some systems in my clinic where I had margin in my day. I was able to have more time to create that podcast. So I'm going to talk about systems. I'm also going to cover what I like to call Google juice and how that brick and mortar can help with your Google search. And I'm also going to give you a couple more tips that you don't have to necessarily have a brick and mortar in order to play nice with Google, so Google will play nice with you. So whether you have a pediatric practice or you're doing adult rehab, this is going to cover all factors. I'm sure I'm going to touch some on pediatrics. So if you are a pediatric therapist and you have some specific questions that direction, I can certainly help you out. But don't think, well, I don't have a pediatric practice, so Scott's talk is not that relevant. It's very generic in that opening a brick and mortar practice has a lot of overlap. Adult, pediatrics, plus systems are systems. It's going to cover pediatrics and adult rehab. So I'd love to see y'all there, and I can't wait to listen to these, to all y'all's talks. This is going to be great.
Well, before we move on to the next person, why pediatric? I mean, did you really choose pediatric or what? I know Anthony,
That's a good question. So when I did my 3-month clinical, I did it at the VA, and I loved it. I loved treating the adults at the VA. And I mean, at the time I had recently gotten out of the Army, so I had that connection, and I really liked that. But I also knew that I loved kids. I'm just a big kid at heart, and so when we get kids in our yeah, I get paid to play, right? But when we get kids in our clinic and they realize you get those older kids and they're like, so you get paid to do this? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, I get paid to play all these games. But then I turn that around and I say, look, if you do good in school and you pay attention to what mom and dad say, you can come work here with me. And they're like, whoa, really? I can do all this? I'm like, yeah, I get paid to do this. So that's I knew I was going to have a few kids of my own, and they've really enjoyed having the clinic. And I don't know, it just allows me to extend my childhood, I guess.
That's good. The reason why I was interested, because my second child and my eldest and second, they want to be an OT, and they don't want me. They don't want the old patients. They see me, daddy's working with the dementia patients. One time I brought them to the nursing home, and there's this patient that was just shouting mama, and it was like, daddy, I don't want to treat those type of patients. So I brought them one time to a pediatric physical therapy clinic, and they were like, I think we can do this, dad. So Yep.
Well,
all right, well, thank
God
you,
bless
Scott.
God bless you for working with those dementia patients. That's
oh gosh,
calling.
Well,
so
I forget it anyway the following day, so All right. Okay. Next person that we're going to ask is obviously Jessica Drummond about why pelvic floor, why pelvic health, and can you give us 1 or 2 tips on how do we do this?
Yeah. So my talk, like Scott, is also, I hope, relevant, even if you are not working specifically in women's health or pelvic health. And similarly, I made $34,000 a year, my first job. And
you were
and
happy.
I was so grateful. That, right? I was so grateful because, we must have all graduated at roughly the same time, kind of listening to the timelines. And, at that time, it's been the only time, even before I went into PT school and after, that the federal government actually balanced the budget. And to do that, the only way to really do that is cut Medicare and Social Security and military. Those are really the line items that have to be involved. And so the physical therapy profession, slammed to a halt there. I went to the top top 3 physical therapy school in the country. And several people in my graduating class never worked in physical therapy because they simply couldn't find jobs. So I was super grateful to get that $34,000 a year job in an outpatient sports medicine clinic, and I loved it. And so I never actually had that entrepreneurial drive. It wasn't something I was looking for from the get-go. But what happened to me was I got really sick, and I had to figure out how to heal myself because it wasn't anything that conventional medicine had tools for. And so I discovered a path of functional medicine, functional nutrition, and that's really what got me well. And it would then, because I'm a curious bird, I was like, okay, how can I apply some of this to my most resistant pelvic pain clients? You know, we all have within our populations those clients that are really challenging, or they tend to plateau, or they don't get all the way better. And so I began to integrate everything I had learned to help with my hormones and my brain neurotransmitters and, you know, my energy and all this very biochemical stuff. In fact, it's really funny because the only reason I didn't go to medical school is I didn't want to take biochem. And now literally all I do is biochem all day, every day. But it's really been interesting because the people in functional medicine, functional nutrition think in a completely different way for me in a lot of cases, because they're trained in this very kind of microscopic model of like one nutrient or one pharmaceutical for a pathway disruption. Whereas when you learn as a physical therapist, you actually an occupational therapist, speech therapist, you actually already are thinking in an integrative perspective. So what my talk's really going to be about is how in women's health, there are a wide variety of niche markets. So everything from female athletes, and that could be female postpartum athletes, that could be female pregnant athletes, that could be female teenage athletes or master's level athletes over 60, pregnancy, postpartum, fertility, pelvic pain. And there are quite a number of niche markets in women's health, and women are essentially the healthcare CEOs of every family. So if we start to educate women individually to help themselves heal, then we help the entire family heal, especially if it's from an integrative perspective, because they're the ones cooking most of the time. They're the ones, you know, making the kids go outside and play instead of being on the screens. And, you know, I dragged my husband to work out today. Like, actually, that's not true. He's getting himself motivated now. But at first, right, we're the ones who kind of are the stimulus. So we're going to talk about a couple of key things. How to market to women in a different way, because women really thrive in community. And that's the benefit of thinking in group models, of thinking in virtual models, and of being very specific about choosing your niche, because in cash practice, you have to stand up as an expert, and it's important to actually become an expert. That's why I'm still in the clinic, right? So I think that's really what you'll learn from my talk, a way to build a practice that doesn't have any boundaries.
There you go. I love what you said about niche. And, you know, I've been preaching this with our group, the Alternative Careers group, that you have to find your specific niche, because, you know, what did they say? The riches are in the niches. And me being a foreign trained therapist, would the company hire me if I'm just a regular foreign trained therapist who can even speak straight English? No, they would hire me now because they think I'm a, you know, quote unquote dementia expert. So now they're like the one who's trying to give me all these patients online and everything. So I love what Jessica said. You have to find your specific niche. So Anthony has their specific niche. Bert has his niche. Asha, Jessica, and Scott. So if you are watching right now and you're listening in our Alternative Careers group, I would challenge you, find that specific niche, hone on it, focus on it, and run with it. And that's how you're going to grow as a better therapist, as a better person, because we can't be a general practitioner. You know, even physicians, they have their own specific niche. You know, tomorrow I'm going to go to my heart doctor. I have this PVC thing. So All right, I'm going to move on forward. Too much information, right? I'm going to move on forward. We're going to ask Asha. Asha, thank you very much again for coming over. So give us, tell us about what you're going to be talking about in this rehab summit, and give us at least 1 or 2 tips.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having us over. And I second with Jessica, Scott, Anthony, and you as well. So my niche is neurological clinical practice, and I'm a board certified neurological clinical specialist. I'm also a vestibular rehabilitation clinician, and I love treating patients with balance and falls. So what I am going to speak about is the I was not an entrepreneur at heart, but what I am is when I see a problem, I cannot be quiet about it. I have to do something about it. So that's what drove me into developing this software, because I could not stop thinking about it. I am a foreign trained therapist, but I also pursued my master's in Mass General. So while I was practicing here, my mother had balance issues from vestibular migraine. I tried to give her some exercises, and sure enough, all the exercises are only in English. And Indian languages, there are about 12 Indian languages. My mother speaks Telugu, and it has its own calligraphic script. So, Mike, you might be from Philippines, if I'm not wrong, right? So does language of Philippines have its own script, or are the alphabets written in English?
Yeah, it's alphabet in English, right, Bert?
In English. Yes. The same with Spanish as well, but there are certain languages like Mandarin has its own calligraphic script. So if
Yeah.
you have to implement a foreign language that has its own calligraphic script, there are no softwares that have worked on it. So that was my interest to develop the application to serve the people that really don't speak English as a primary language. And they're educated, they just don't speak English. So that's the story behind me developing this application. And also when we talk about women's health specialists, dementia expert, pediatric expert, and vestibular expert, if you're trying to reach patients within your geographical area, you're really constrained. And there are so many patients out there who require specialist services, who do not have that clinician specialist that's living close by. I could not find a vestibular rehabilitation specialist to treat my mother who lives in India. So I had to treat her myself. So my drive was to develop this whole tele-rehabilitation platform so we can reach out to patients who are not only in our close geographical area, but also reach to a larger community and serve more people that really need our services. In this way, without the brick and mortar expense, you're reaching out using the digital platform. And patients love it. Patients appreciate it. Patients love it. And what I'm really going to speak about is honing in on that niche, developing your own clinical practice guidelines, like developing your own exercise protocols, having your own database of exercises, and marketing to the wider domain that you haven't really thought of. And we put in a lot of money into sales and marketing, right? What if you give a 15-minute free tele-rehabilitation call, and then ask these patients to talk with you and convert them into real patients? Patients would appreciate it. And the lead conversion is much more efficient that way. And that's what I'm going to talk about as to how you can utilize tele-rehabilitation to your own specific niche, be it vestibular or women's health or dementia, geriatrics or pediatrics or any other specialty. How do you serve community at large? And I'm also going to speak about, cash-based practice, how you can generate a super bill and issue it to the patients, how you can bill the patients. And I would appreciate Anthony Maritato's feedback on this with regards to Medicare, because there are so many elderly patients who require balance training, and they could really not come to the clinic. And what if we can integrate Medicare, because there are so many states that have parity law where we can reach out to these patients and also bill them through insurance. I think
Awesome.
that's my intent of this webinar.
Oh wow. Well, thank you very much, Asha. Appreciate you. You know, if you ACG, you see what Asha is doing. Actually, Jessica and the rest of our guests right now, they didn't find for the solution. They found the problem and then they found the solution to it. That's what Asha did. She found the problem and she found the solution. That's what same thing with Jessica. She found the problem and she found a solution. And that's our goal here. If you are actually looking for a problem, you find that solution, because if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem, basically, right? So we're gonna move on to the next last guest, Bert. We're gonna be awesome, right? We're gonna ask Bert, and then after this, we're good. We're gonna be awesome. And last but not the least, Bert, what's their topic? And give us 2 tips before we let you guys go.
Well, can you hear me? Yeah. So before I talk about my topic real quick, Mike, I just want to say real quick, this is the reason why I put this summit together. I want our colleagues from PTs to OTs and SLPs see what's out there. This is the reason why I ask each individual speaker here tonight and the ones that are not here tonight to share what they're doing, because there's a lot of therapists out there who don't know what they need to do, right? They want to do business, they want to do this, they want to do that, but they don't know how to start or what to do. They're just plain confused, right? So with all the speakers that are going to be present during the Rehab Online Summit on June 29th and 30th, we are actually catering to our colleagues and showing them, hey guys, this is what I do. See if you want to do this. Hey guys, this is what Jessica, Anthony, Scott, Asha, Will, and Alex are doing. See if you want to do this. So I just want the listeners to understand tonight, this is the main reason why we're doing this. This is for you guys. We all have our busy lives as business owners, but we're going out of our way to show you guys what we're doing. So hopefully you can learn from what we're doing. Does that make sense, Mike?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, now going to what I'm going to share with our colleagues during the summit. My cup of tea is home health contract. I teach PTs, OTs, SLPs from LA to New York, how to start a home health contract business. Now, home health contract business is different from the 13-week travel contract therapy staffing that you know of, okay? What we do is we cater to the local home health agency where we get patients as they come in. Every referral, we treat patients just like in any outpatient setting. So the only difference is we don't have a brick and mortar, but we have a chart for the patient, whether they have PT, OT, or SLP, and we see those patients based on the doctor's order. So I teach PTs, OTs, and SLPs how to do this without quitting your job, without marketing to doctors, without billing Medicare insurance, and without any full-time employees, okay? How can you do that? That's what you're going to learn during the summit. I'm going to show you the 5 major things, the 5 major moving parts to set up your own home health contract business. Thanks, Mike.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate you, Bert, Asha, Jessica, Scott, Anthony. Really appreciate you for coming over. I know we've got lot more questions, but before I let you go, I just wanted to encourage everyone, the word FAST, F-A-S-T. First, it's like our Facebook page. Subscribe our page. Subscribe to everybody's page. Bert's page, Asha, Jessica, Scott, and Tony's page, because I learn a lot from them. And like what I said, the more I learn from them, the more the feeds pop up on my Facebook page and whatever social media, the more reminder I get, because I don't want to see all those negative people that complains about their life and everything. I want to see all these people winning in their business, winning in their career, because that's what you want to be. So letter F, F, Facebook page, subscribe and like. Letter A, you got to take action on it. This video here, this is free. The June 29th and 30th. Come on now, guys. This is just $97, and you get all the information from all these people here. That's not even $97. Come on now. If I'm gonna pay each one of these people that's here, it's not even worth the $97. I'm probably gonna pay Bert $500 just to consult him for his business for 1 hour to talk to, or Scott probably $1,000 just to consult him, and Tony or whatever. He's probably gonna bill Medicare for me. So the goal here is just to learn, because sometimes we just have to learn how to invest, a little bit of skin in the game. Because if we provide all this for, totally free, you're not going to value it. But a little bit skin of the game, $97 coming June 29th, 30th. And that way you learn, and you're not going to be able to apply all of it, just get one. Like, if you're a pelvic floor lady, get Jessica's course, Jessica's stuff, me, I'm going to get Tony's course, because I'm done with Bert. So that's my challenge for you. Letter A, take action. And letter S, share this page, share it to your friends, share it to other groups, because sharing is caring. Because the more we share it, the more it may not be applicable to you, but it could be applicable to somebody else, like a friend who needs a pediatric guidance from Scott, or a friend who needs guidance on how to start their own pelvic floor or whatever, or TheraX, or Bert. Bert saying this.
Mike, before you forget, you are also a speaker. Can you please tell us what you're going to talk about?
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. I'm going to be talking about improve your influence and impact in your industry by publishing your book. Basically, how how I wouldn't be known as the dementia expert and be with the dementia people if I don't have a published book. And having a published book increases your credibility instantly. It's like a business card that you show. I got several published books, like 5 published books now. And every time I go to a patient or a company that I want to contract with, I just show them the book and they think I'm a, really influential guy, but not really. I'm just a regular PT here. So that will be my topic. Okay. Thank you for reminding me, Bert. And last but not the least, letter T on the FAST, letter T. We got to teach it. All these people here, the reason why they're awesome in what they do, because they're teaching it. Because when they hear it, you forget. When you see it, you remember. But when they actually teach it, you actually understand it more. So again, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you. I know a lot of we're going to have a lot of questions along the way, but we're going to throw them back to you guys. I appreciate you, Anthony, Bert, Asha, Jessica, Scott. Thank you very much. Thank you very much again, ACG. God bless you and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you.